Hello, beautifuls. Wholeness. Welcome to Seeds of Silver Tree. Rashida Silver Tree here. So I'm recording, yes, again inside my car. Doesn't mean that we won't go on adventures together in the near future. But I'm in the middle of buzzing and running around today. There's a nice festival summer thing going on. I don't know the name of it, but I'm checking it out. It's downtown. I think there's also another one in my hometown that's going on too. So, yep. So, I'm actually recording in the same spot that I did back in like October, November. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, so today's topic is about forgiveness. And what was the title again? I wrote it down, but I don't have the notebook with me. Okay. It was about how they didn't hurt you. They only unlocked the unhealed wounds that already exist within you. This came pouring out of me this morning where I'll be a little transparent. In a past relationship after the breakup, it wasn't a good one. But it's been about almost a year and a couple of months of the separation. And I will say this, the older I've gotten, the longer it takes for me to recover from separations, from breakups. I don't know if it's, and when I speak to older people, older women, older men, most of them have told me, especially those who are single, who live alone, who are by themselves living life, okay, and they'll tell me, like, after a while, it just you just take that space in between you meeting someone new, versus that healing phase, right? That season, that cycle where you're single, right? You're just to yourself, by yourself, doing things, living your own personal bubble until you meet someone else. That space gets much longer and broader and more full. And so this morning I was speaking to Spirit in prayer and just, reflecting with the higher power, and it just dawned on me while I was meditating, like the pain, and that forgiveness. I've noticed that it's like you relive, forgiveness is like an onion, okay? Onions have a very strong odor. They have a very strong taste. And people usually some people have a natural aversion to onion because it's such a powerful medicine, right? It's antiviral, antibacterial. It helps the immune system. But usually the bitter herb heals, right? The things that taste really weird or off are usually that's the very thing that you need to heal. But this came through so strongly. With forgiveness, I found I woke up this morning still replaying things that I've said, or how I reacted to something that was said to me or done to me, because I'm more reactionary than anything. When I'm centered and present and grounded, I'll respond. But usually to negativity, if we're not present with ourselves, and we're not present with what's happening in the now during that experience, we just react. We say something back. We have to prove a point. We have to argue. We have to, no, you can't say that to me. You can't talk to me that way. You can't do that to me. It's very fast, very fiery type of energy. And so we'll project. And then after it's done, we'll start playing this horrible game, this cycle, this thick layer of resentment and bitterness. And we just replay. Well, he was in the wrong for that. She was in the wrong for that. He shouldn't have done that. Why would he do this? Why would she do that? We do this over and over and over. All in the while, forgiveness, we're trying, we have a forgiveness practice, where we're actively doing our best. But I've learned that with forgiveness, there are layers, like the onion. There are layers you have to pull back. And you have to really, in order for true forgiveness, that means it's the ultimate release. It is a kind of death in a way, an ending. But it's you feel lighter. And so far, my forgiveness practice, people have told me, Rashida, at times you forgive to release yourself from it. And you do it more for you than for the other person. But then I watched this clip about how sometimes there has to be a reconciliation where you talk it out with the other person. But that's not always viable. That's not always practical, is it? Right? So, this realization that came through in this meditation this morning, it just, it really dawned on me. It's not the other person hurting you. They triggered you for you to increase your awareness of what is unhealed within yourself. We're not triggered by every little mean thing that's been said to us or every little action that's been done to us, are we? We don't get triggered by every little thing. There are some things where we learn, and then we're just like, when it happens the second time, we're like, oh, okay, I know what that's about. But then there are certain things that have wounded us so deeply in our psyche that it usually takes a form of a close, intimate relationship for us to get that pulled out of us and to look at it. And so I'm shifting how I perceive the role that the victim in me, because we all have the victim voice. We all have the voice of the victim inside our ego. We have that. And that needs to be heard. And we need to create the space for that. A lot of the time victims are like, don't shame me. It's their fault. I wasn't in the wrong. They were in the wrong. Look at what they done to me. But we all are active participants. This is what I mean about the power of be here now, of being present. When you're present, you respond to the energy that's interacting with you in a different way. You don't respond with the same frequency or vibration. Reaction, you react to the energy that you're receiving. Okay? And you lower yourself to that frequency and that vibration. That's how arguments happen. That's how fights happen. So with the unhealed wounds that are triggered by the other, right? We have a choice to make, okay? Once you realize like, oh, this wound has always been here. This wound has always been. And you may not know the source of who did it, mommy or daddy or a childhood friend, but you know somewhere in your early experience, your early human experience in this life, you were wounded. And we cover it up. We cover it up with our programming and our conditioning. And it takes sometimes a really long marriage or multiple marriages or multiple romantic monogamous relationships or polyamorous, whatever you're into, to pull all that is unhealed within us out. I mentioned in my last video about the celibacy, where, sometimes, in the celibacy video, sometimes you have the serial monogamists out there that they think that they're with the same person, but they're not, right? Or no, I'm sorry. They think that they're with a different person, different personality, different circumstances, but the same lesson keeps repeating itself because the same lesson isn't being addressed. The same unhealed wound isn't being addressed. And then you, as the victim, develop this story and narrative of all men are this way, all women are this way, all jobs are this way, all groups of people are this way, based off of your own unhealed wound. This is very, very powerful when it comes to layering the onion called forgiveness. I love onions. Onions are fire. Onions are delicious. I am so sorry. I can eat them cooked or raw, preferably raw. Yes, I brush my teeth. Yes, I'm good and clean. I take showers and all that because I know you can smell when people eat onions and garlic, but I kid you not, those people tend to be less sick. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but it's you know, the bitter herb heals, okay? The bitter root, it does its job. So just make sure you pile on that deodorant and brush your teeth. Anyway, I just wanted to share this with you because it's so insightful, because I'm like, why am I still thinking and replaying this story over and over about this experience, or this certain experience, and what was said at that moment, and that's valid. You have to allow that to bubble up. That's part of the healing. When it comes to healing from an experience, it's an unpleasant experience. It takes a while. It takes time. When you have those random, you'll be happy driving down the road and you're like, la 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 la, living my life, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're hit with a memory. You're like, wow, okay, well, that doesn't feel very good. Pay attention to those moments. Don't try to cover it up. That's part of actually you letting it go. When those moments, those memories of something unpleasant, or an action or physical action that was very unpleasant, bubbles up in a moment of happiness, your frequency is so high at that present moment that it's pulling out what doesn't belong. It's extracting what doesn't belong. It's not all about building this whole mystical, magical, witchery ritual, and being hardcore with prayers or meditations. That's the place and space where all this healing is done. No, it's usually the moments where you least expect it, the moments where you're most happy, most joyful, most in balance and present, that those things will suddenly bubble up and you're like, hey, what the heck? But that's what's being released, and then you're back to normal again. That's all I wanted to say. Forgiveness is by far my focal point right now this year. And it's like healing the masculine, healing the feminine within me. That's the only way. That's the only way to heal and to forgive other people, is if you learn to forgive yourself first. You must start with you. There can be no other way. It's hard to do, especially if you've been wronged. You feel that you've been wronged. Those emotions are valid. Your thought forms are valid. Memory is very powerful. That's all we actually really have. That's all we have. Memory is so powerful, it's embedded in our DNA. Our ancestral knowledge and wisdom is passed through their blood, through the blood. That's why blood is so sacred. Okay? Blood is energy in blood is super sacred. That's why I always I thought it was interesting in, I don't know if it's Mormonism, or like the Mormons do this practice, or the Jehovah's Witness do this practice. I think it's Jehovah's Witness, where they won't take blood transfusions and you could be dying. They won't do it because they see that it's impure to take on another person's life essence, which is your blood. And I can totally understand that. I don't understand any other cultic practice that they do. I mean, I understand it, but it just doesn't vibe with me. But I can understand this, where they don't want to take in organs or other people's life organs and blood and secretions and stuff like that into their being. That I thought that was always very interesting in their faith. But anyway, that's it. I wanted to share this because it's like, oh wow, okay, I just uncovered another layer. Because you can do rituals, you can do practices, you can pray and pray and pray and pray and pray. That's not active healing. That's like your phone call to the universe. That's a phone call to God. That's a phone call. You're sending out a text message to the universe saying, help me, I want to release this. It's not going to happen in that moment, but it happens in the moments where you're most high, where you're most at balance with yourself, when you're most happy and when you're most at peace. And that little nasty little seed of a pain or resentment or bitterness pops up. And you're like, oh, hello bitterness, hello resentment, hello memory, hi. Oh, you're bubbling up. Okay, you're being released now. I release you. That's it. I'll see you next time.